We're back.
We're back.
Week 2. So before we get into this, I must admit that I thought that, and you can share your thoughts, but I really thought that this was going to kind of be a soft launch. You know, we send it to our families, we send them the link. Hey, can you watch this? Tell us what you think. We'll post something on Instagram. And honestly, the response has been great.
It has.
Very humbling though,
Very.
Ironically enough, that's one of our pillars.
Right.
So, but I'm super thankful
Yeah.
for the response that we've already gotten,
And I'm grateful for the constructive criticism from all my family and friends. Thank you so much from all my Miami people. Like, it really means a lot that y'all are willing to support both of us and tell us the ugly, hard truth. So we took some of your feedback and I think we've fixed the chair situation. And like the side profile view. So we'll send this out again to our family and friends. And if you have more pointers, please, of course, let us know.
Yeah. And, I think to Jenny's point, I appreciate the feedback and the support and honestly, just all those who are watching from Richmond, to reach out and to say the kind words that you said, recognizing that what we're saying means something to you, but also understanding that what you say to us also means a lot. And it kind of lets us know, like, this is more than just something of our own desire. This is something that we're being called to do. And so thank you for that. Before we get started, for those of you who are new or are just tuning in, my name is Caleb.
And I'm Jenny.
And this is a podcast where we have stories rooted in transformation. Last week we covered the 5 pillars. So we're going over transformation. Last week we covered the 5 pillars. And those were, I don't want to say them. I encourage you to go back and watch last week's podcast. But we are going over them this week. And so
we're going to break down each pillar.
Yep.
And so the first pillar, which is where all the rest of the pillars cascade from, is purpose.
And so I want to start off by saying this. And it's something that I have written down here about purpose. Before I read this, actually, I want to say this too. When we think of the word rooted, this is what we're referring to. Mm-hmm. We're referring to purpose. If you think of a tree, the roots, the strongest parts, that is purpose.
It's the foundation of the tree.
It's the foundation of the tree. And we hope that we can relay that message to you today. Yeah. And we can help you understand why we say that purpose is the root of your transformation journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in my opinion, and I feel very strongly about this, the single greatest form of self-exploration is purpose. Your purpose is your identity. The concept of purpose is also one of the most selfless processes. Think about this for a second. Purpose is searching beyond your scope of individuality in order to serve something far greater than your own gratification. I want to preface this. I want to highlight this point right here. Ready? Purpose is searching beyond your scope of individuality in order to serve something far greater than your own gratification. This idea of greater than and gratification and your own gratification, I'm not saying that you're going to be taking on something that's even better than
or enjoyable
or more enjoyable than your gratification. That's not what this idea of purpose is. Like, when you think of purpose and this idea of this very selfless process, your own gratification and this idea of something that you're serving far greater than the reality is, could mean you're going beyond your own gratification. You're stepping out of something that you enjoy in order to serve something else. In other words, there's
Right.
something more on the line, and you're using that as motivation, which we'll talk about later, as motivation to keep going, to remain consistent, to remain steadfast. So,
Yeah, you're dying to your hedonistic ways. You're putting aside your own self-pleasure
yes,
and indulgence
Yep.
for something else.
exactly. And in turn, that's going to help you remain consistent.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you have any examples of that, or?
I do, and I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. I cried a lot yesterday, so I might be all cried out. Yeah, Caleb witnessed me ugly cry, and I kept saying I was sorry. He's like, Jenny, stop apologizing.
Yeah, I did. I said, what did I say? I said, I don't know why you're apologizing to me. And you're like, I don't like crying in front of people. I said, then apologize to yourself.
And so I had to turn around while I kept ugly crying. But my grandfather is in the hospital. Actually, both my grandparents are on my mom's side, my grandfather and my grandmother. And they have been married, I want to say 53 years. I might be a little off on that number, so Mom, you can correct me later. But my mom lives up here in Kentucky, and she had to drive down the day before the snowstorm to go tend to my grandfather. My grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And she's been a vegetable, basically, like just bedridden, basically the last, I want to say 15 years, it could be a little less. But my grandfather is the definition of going beyond your own self-gratification. He has been so devoted to that woman. Like so devoted. I mean, he is one of the reasons why I don't settle, why I can only hope and pray that my husband that the Lord sent me a husband as devoted to me as that man is to my grandmother. Even as he's taking shallow breaths in the hospital right now, my mom is telling me that he's asking about her. How is she doing? Where is she? Mind you, she doesn't even know. She doesn't remember him anymore. She doesn't remember anyone around him. And even while going through all that pain of his wife, the woman he had children with, forgetting him, he kept serving her.
Wow.
So that is a great example. I can go on and on about him. I just want to say, te quiero mucho.
Wow.
Te quiero mucho, abuelo. Yo tengo paz, que tú vas a estar en el cielo y te quiero mucho. And he's going to be part of my purpose.
I've and seen, like, I say that to say, like, I mean, if we ended this podcast right now, I think that testament is the embodiment of purpose. Like, I have chills right now. I don't know what to... Thank you. I mean, I'm saying thank you not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of anybody watching. Like, I've just got this chill going up and down my body right now. I want you to hear her, though, because this is something that I want to say. If you have this feeling, this admiration as strongly as Jenny does about her grandfather, I want you to recognize this, that that person, or you were probably a part of that person's transformation. You were probably a part of that person's purpose. The reason that person decides to keep going. While that person has such an influence on you, it probably is double that for them. The reason they get up every day is because you're a part of their purpose. And so, Jenny, there's no question that you sitting here doing this podcast is a testament to your grandfather's purpose. You were a part of his purpose. And so while he had an impact on you, you have to know the impact that you had on him to keep him going every day. That's amazing.
Thank you.
But are you good to transition?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's talk about what it means to maybe live, maybe it's not the total right way of saying it, but for lack of better words, living the opposite life of your grandfather.
Right.
And so with this in mind, I want to say this. This really is something that I feel very strongly about. It is in my heart of hearts. It is something that I feel down to my core. It's a hill that I'm honestly willing to die on. It's something that my mind, it'll be hard to change. I'm always open to changing my mind, but this is going to be something that's hard to change my mind on. And that is this. Selfishness, selfish people, selfish individuals are rooted in this idea of being or feeling lost. Now, I want to say this. I'm not saying that all lost people are selfish, but what I am for sure saying is that every selfish individual is rooted in the idea of not understanding or knowing their purpose. This is the problem with society. I'm going off on a little tangent here, but this is the problem with our society today.
Absolutely.
Everything is rooted in this individualistic ideology because people feel lost. People feel betrayed. People feel like there is no purpose. And so what do? They resort to self-pleasure. They resort to the newest trend. This is exactly why trends are so popular nowadays. This is why trends, I guess, have always been popular, but even more so today. Because people are so lost that they think they're going to find themselves in instant gratification. They think, oh, if I just do the newest thing. Oh, if I just go with the rest of the people. Oh, if I just decide to follow the crowd,
Right.
then I'll be accepted. And that is lack of purpose.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm talking about when I say that selfish individuals are rooted in the idea of not understanding or knowing their purpose. And again, that is why we live in such an individualistic society. Because this is a society of lost people who don't know how to search for their purpose.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, let's talk about this word individualistic, okay? I would venture to say that its identity is rooted in self-indulgence, right? Individualism, it tells us that we're free to do whatever we want. But true freedom comes from losing our ego and dying to ourselves. So when I started to think about purpose and what does that mean and what do I want to talk about, I thought of philosophers. I thought of philosophy, and I went back to my freshman year of college. It was a very long time ago. Went back to my freshman year of college.
Wait. Wait. Hold on. You're telling me that you actually got something from
my undergrad?
From your undergrad.
Not much, but yes.
Okay. So those loans are paying off.
Well, I don't know. Ask me in 10 years. Ask me in 10 years when we've made the dream come true. How about that? And when I've paid all my student loans off.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first.
Right.
It's on the internet now for everybody.
It's on the internet.
Okay.
So I started thinking of my freshman year in college. I'm sitting in my philosophy class at FIU. And the professor is talking about Marcus Aurelius. Okay. So Marcus Aurelius was they call him one of the last 5 great emperors. Okay. After this, the Roman Empire started to have a lot of turbulent times. Okay. Before then, during that period that he was emperor, the Roman Empire was at its peak. Like it was thriving. It was just, they were doing very well. Okay. And he was also a Stoic philosopher. He taught, the reason why it's important that we know that the Roman Empire was at its peak is because of the way that he cared about his people. He cared about his people and serving them more than himself. Okay? He taught the idea that to live a fulfilling life, you must live for something outside of yourself. Okay? He also talked about living in the present, right? Yes, and we'll eventually get to experience as one of our pillars, but our experience is going to take into account some of our past and of course our future, but the present is the most important. Okay?
I think Kung Fu Panda said it best.
Please enlighten me, because I'm not sure what Kung Fu Panda said.
Really?
No.
He said the past is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but
Oh.
today is a gift. That's why we call it the present.
Ah, I like it. Okay, wise words, Kung Fu.
Yep.
He said that he also taught that to add value, to add value to our lives, we had to serve each other. Okay, so let me talk about purpose a little bit. Purpose is not about chasing happiness. It's not about chasing the next thing. It's not about chasing, success. It's more about alignment. It's about, and that alignment comes with, we just actually talked about it right before we started filming. You were reading an excerpt from the Bible. I don't remember what part.
It was in Ephesians.
Okay. And you were talking about what is God's hope for us in our calling.
Yeah.
So once we align our purpose with our calling, that is what purpose is about.
Yeah.
Not about chasing the pleasures of the world.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's good.
I also want to say that, so eventually last week we touched a little bit about accountability, right? And now we're talking about dying to ourselves and purpose being something outside of ourselves, right? We're not doing it for us.
Right.
We're doing it for our neighbor.
Yeah. And I want to say this, if I can hop in here.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's so interesting. The first point that I made, right? That purpose is the single greatest, or one of the greatest ideas of self-exploration and identity. Yet, what you're saying is that to really fulfill this idea of purpose, you are seeking beyond your own self
Right.
in order to basically, what we talked about earlier, serve something greater than
Right.
your own gratification.
It's a selfless process.
It's a selfless process, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the word alignment is what binds those two ideas together, right? Saying I've got to figure out my own identity through serving something far greater than my own gratification. Once those two things are in harmony, that's this idea of alignment. Okay, sorry, I just had like a
Never apologize.
yeah.
So tying all that together, I want to also express how important the idea of brotherhood and community is. Okay, we are doing this for our neighbor, right? We're doing this for someone other than ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're not doing it for ourselves. So make no mistake that this idea of purpose is rooted. It has to be rooted in community. It has to be rooted in brotherhood, in our neighbors.
And I want to actually talk about that because I'll say this, and I have it written down because it's something that is in my strongest. When you said brotherhood, this is what came to my mind. I had it written down, but I think this is the perfect time to say it. Your why, your purpose, is what sets the tone. It's actually what grounds you. Is it ironic that grounds you, roots, purpose, it's what grounds you. It's what keeps you stable. Your why is what sets the tone. It's what grounds you. There is now more on the line than just yourself. You have suddenly created a standard where you are being depended on to become better. The first word that comes to my mind is pressure. This is something that I preach in the locker room. When I'm in that locker room with my guys, one of the biggest things that I always say is that pressure is privilege, because pressure is a placed upon standard that is rooted in not just belief, but expectation. When we look at purpose that way, that is brotherhood. That is looking at the person next to you and say, I am not doing it for myself. I'm doing this for you. That is this idea of purpose.
Absolutely. So I've been watching the Seville Tigers page on Instagram. And
Oh gosh.
Shout out to our sports information department, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
They are amazing.
Actually, I need to say this. I'm going to say this right now.
Go.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to say the school because I'm just not going to say the school. I was at a school this weekend. And the sports information guy, the guy who's in charge of their videos, the guy who's in charge of their pictures, came up to me and said, nobody does it like Campbellsville.
Sheldon Dossett.
Thank you.
All you, man.
Thank you. That's a school that's real far away.
Yeah.
And they said nobody does it like Campbellsville.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to also say that Sheldon, who is our sports information director, he's the one that he gave us actually some tips about our podcast. And he's the one that told us about setting up different angles, different camera angles. So we're still working on it. We have the different camera angles, but we are, we're still learning our editing skills.
We are.
Yeah.
But
keep
anyway,
bearing with us.
Yes.
But I digress.
Yes.
And so you were just at a tournament in Missouri this weekend.
Yep.
I saw that you went undefeated. I watched all of your games. I would venture to say that not only because I am Coach Alvarez's daughter, but so I might be a little biased here. I would venture to say that I am maybe your first or second fan. Yeah, I'm definitely CU men's volleyball's number 1 or number 2 fan.
You should have seen her at the St. Thomas game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We really riled up that crowd. We really did. Actually, with the help of one of my other Miami moms, me and her, let's just say that we probably weren't saying very kind words in Spanish to the other team. So anyways, you had a lot of success in this tournament. And so far in the season, you're 6-0.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how the tournament went. How did you see that success shine? Tell us about maybe some of your strategies, some of the philosophies that you instill in your guys.
Yeah. This was a question that we got a lot this weekend, actually. For those of you who do not know, one of the things that I do is I'm a coach at the collegiate level for a men's volleyball program. And so we did go to Missouri. We're having a lot of success this season. And with success comes pressure. We talk about on the team the hunter and the hunted. And so I won't get into that because has nothing to do with purpose. But we talk about how we have a huge target on our back.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to play Campbellsville. We got there and 3 coaches told us that our logo has been circled on their calendar.
Wow.
Because we are the standard. In other words, they said, if we beat them, then we know where we stand in this nation. That to me is pressure. So,
which, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. So,
okay.
You just said the word nation, and it made me just think about how right now the men's volleyball team is ranked number 9 in the nation, and we have taken down number 3 and number 6. So who's next? What team are we playing next that's ranked?
Benedict Mesa. They're number 10.
Number 10. Okay, and we're number 9. That does not mean that it's an automatic win, by the way.
No, definitely not. Not at this level.
Not at this level. We have to stay humble.
Yeah, and Pillar.
Anyways, go ahead.
So, at a certain level, we tell the guys this. We say there is talent and there is culture. Talent and culture are 2 things that, when they're combined, build a united front. But culture will always beat talent. It will always beat talent. Because talent is a bunch of individualistic people who get self-absorbed in this idea of awards and accolades and recognition and good stats.
Right.
Culture, that within itself is the epitome, I think that's the right word, of purpose. In our guys, we instill that you are not playing for the person within you. You are playing in the people next to you.
Yeah. You're playing for your teammate.
You're playing for the guy next to you. We have instilled in them that the number on your back, that the name on your back, you die to that when you get on the court. Because all of you are playing for the name on the front. All of you share that identity. And so therefore, you have formulated and you have been given the responsibility of brotherhood, of looking at people and saying, I'm playing for you.
Yep.
And I'm not, and a perfect example, set 2 in the first match, again, I won't say the school's name, but set 2 in the first match, we were back and forth. The score ended up being 34-32. And the only way we got through that was because you could tell the relentless pursuit to not give up stemmed because they did not want to let the person next to them down. They wanted to play for one another. That's brotherhood. That's purpose. That is living beyond your own gratification, diving into a bleacher. This is just a sports example.
Right.
But there's tons of other examples. Diving into a bleacher, you know, that's honestly the biggest example, is like just going all out for something.
Right.
Hustling, that grind.
In spite of yourself.
Yeah, in spite of yourself. Laying yourself on the line because you want to serve the person next to you. That's
Right.
brotherhood. And that's what we instill in our guys. And I think that's why we've had success, to be honest.
It's amazing.
Because again, our numbers weren't out of this world this weekend. You know, our outsides weren't hitting 400. Our middles, they weren't like putting up all-American numbers. But we looked. We walked into that gym and just everybody knew who the best team was. And that's because all of them play with this idea of purpose.
Right. So everyone put aside their own
Gratification.
self gratification
Yep.
to serve a purpose greater than themselves.
Yep. One of the guys, they said this. They said, if I have to serve water to the guys during a timeout, because that's what's going to help them go out there and play the best, then I promise you nobody's going to be giving water better than I do.
Amen.
That's
Amen.
purpose.
So purpose in that regard, you know, it's important to note that purpose is an external authority. Right?
Okay.
I'm not playing for me. I'm not playing for me. I'm playing for you.
Yeah. I'm not working out for... I mean, you do work out for you,
work
but...
out for yourself. But there still has to be something on the outside pulling
Yeah.
you. You know? That external authority it's extremely important. I think it's what drives us. It's what drives us to our goal through our transformation. Because without it, we're just drifters. We're just coasting. We're just, we're going with the flow. If you don't have something on the outside pulling you and pulling you and pulling you, you're just going to fall.
That's true.
And by the way, we said that it's okay to take a step back last week. We said it's okay to fall, but you have to get back up. And what's going to pull you back up is that external authority.
Yeah.
Okay? Go ahead.
I want to touch on the external authority side of things. As human beings, we are not conditioned to be individual people. Our brains are rooted in this idea of community, in this idea of support from one another. So down to our biology, we are rooted in this idea of serving other people, of external authority, of having that thing that we have to reach for beyond our own gratitude.
So would you say that, would you go as far as saying that we are enslaved to our purpose? You know, that we talked about like our ego dying, right? Our ego dying, in order for us to have true freedom, you know, for us to have true freedom from validation, from comparison, from ourselves, from our, what we want, you know, I want, when we say the word enslaved, I don't want that to connotate a negative meaning. Can you touch upon that a little bit more? Like what does that word enslavement mean?
I want to first start off by saying this before I go into enslavement, because I think it will set the tone for what we mean when we say this word enslavement, because I think the word slave has become very shunned, has become very looked down upon.
Sure.
And I think with reason. I mean, there have been bad times throughout history of that word, but I think ultimately it can be a productive word. And so we'll talk about it, but I want to first say this, and again, I think it'll preface it'll give meaning to this word, and that is purpose equals parameters. Parameters that serve as guiding tools and a reminder. This idea of purpose is what builds the straight and narrow. This idea of purpose, it puts you in the right direction. It keeps you steadfast. It keeps you focused. It keeps you moving.
So anything outside of those parameters are distractions to your purpose.
Let's give a visual. Ready? You're going down a road, right? There's an exit ramp. Suddenly, there's road work ahead, so that exit ramp has been blocked off. You can't go that way. That's purpose. Purpose is the road work ahead signs that are blocking you from taking that exit. It's forcing you to remain steadfast, to continue to go straight. Read those the
words.
The words again. What were we saying?
So I said it was important that for us to know that true freedom comes from breaking the chains of validation, of acceptance, of comparison, and of ourselves.
Okay. You've just given me a thought now. If we're going to say that purpose is a parameter, purpose's parameter is not to block you off. It's to keep you going. It's to keep you, again, it's a guiding tool and it's a reminder. It's to keep you going. Those words that you just used, validation, comparison, self, all that stuff, those are also parameters. The problem with those parameters is that they serve as a room, like the very one that we're sitting in, except the doors are locked and they only open when they allow for them to be open. It's like a jail cell. You're trapped. If you work outside of comparison, if you work outside validation, if you work outside of yourself, you start to feel uncomfortable. You start to feel, in other words, they make it like a very cozy jail cell that you never want to leave, except you're trapped. You're enslaved. That is bad enslavement.
Right.
That is when you no longer have free will to make decisions.
Right.
That's when something else is making a decision for you. That is enslavement. But let's talk about this word enslavement. Because again, I wanted to set the tone for this point that we're trying to make of this word free. You know, you're enslaving yourself to your purpose, which is true freedom. But I want to explain what I mean. Enslavement should not be confused with bondage. But enslavement should be understood as freedom. In this way, enslavement is a standard. I've got a good example. It's going to come from the Bible. Let's get our Bibles out.
I have a feeling I know where you're going. Could it be 1 Corinthians?
I don't know. We'll see.
I happen to, while you look for it, I happen to have walked in his footsteps last May when I went to Turkey and Greece.
So you know.
I know. I was there.
So you know.
I was there. I walked the very roads that he walked.
Wow. That's crazy. So, if you haven't guessed it by now, the example that I'm giving is Paul. Now, one thing you should know about Paul is that Paul was not always Paul.
Right.
Paul used to be Saul. And Saul used to be a Gentile. Not only was Saul a Gentile, Saul was one of the greatest, again, there's that greatest word again. That does not mean great, but was one of the most profound, maybe that would be a better word, martyrers of the modern Christian era, still to this day.
Right.
He killed countless amounts of Christians. If I were to tell you that Paul is now not just within the Bible, but is honestly of the Bible because he wrote most of the New Testament.
Right. If that doesn't tell you that God can transform lives, I don't know. I just don't know what more evidence you need.
So, Saul's name was changed to Paul. And I want to say this, because you said this last night. I kept saying this. I kept saying, Saul changed his name to Paul. No, he did not. Saul had this conviction that his name now needed to be Paul. And if you cannot grasp the significance behind a name change in that time, I mean, you got to think, there's no internet. Yep. There's no clear record of names. There's word of mouth, but there's no digital, files where your names, there's no clear evidence of birth certificates or social security numbers. When your name has been changed, that is who you are. And so Saul was transformed to Paul for one reason, and that was his purpose. He was called to go on 3 mission trip tours. I said I was going to look up the countries. I did not. I'm not going to lie. But it was a lot of them. He traveled 3 times to all of these countries to spread the good news. He died for his purpose. And his purpose still lives on today.
In that book right there.
Right here. He is now considered an apostle. He is recognized as a man who walked next to Jesus. A guy who once murdered people for believing now has become a martyr. So somebody who died because of his beliefs. That's how you say it, right? A martyr. Mm-hmm. And has now been recognized as somebody who walked alongside Jesus. But that only took him transforming, dying to his old way, dying to Saul, so that he could turn to Paul, so that he could then serve out his purpose. Listen to what he says here. I'm getting chills right now. He says this in 1 Corinthians 9:19. He says, "For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all that I might win the more." He's saying, though I have this freedom to live a comfortable life, to live a life for self-indulgence, though I have that option, I am making the decision, I'm setting the tone, I am raising the bar, I am setting a new standard for myself to enslave, because this translation says servant, but other translations use the word enslave or slaved or something along those lines. He has made that decision. He has made that a new standard to enslave himself so that he can serve others. He put his own desires and gratifications and easy lifestyle, he put that to the side so that he could win the more. And he uses a word, he says, that I might win the more.
So you're telling me that there's a possibility that even after dying to yourself, becoming a slave to others, that he might not have won people over? You're telling people might not buy in? That's what you're telling me?
They might not. But that does not stop him from being steadfast, because his purpose was not to win people over. His purpose was to serve so that he might win people over. His concern was not winning people over. His concern was serving. His concern was stepping out of his own gratification so that he could be there for other people, so that he could serve, so that he could live out that ultimate purpose. That, Paul, is the epitome of what it means to live out your purpose.
Amen.
So,
So next week, we have to discuss. Well, we are going to discuss discipline, right? Do you have anything to touch on that topic for us today? Just a small
Well,
little.
yeah, I want to say this to sum it all up. Overall, purpose is it's a high level of accountability that actively requires us to get after it every single day. This idea of purpose takes motivation out of the equation, and it forces upon us discipline, right? Which is something that we'll cover next week. And they'll have to come back next week to hear our thoughts on discipline.
I hope you'll join us. We hope you'll join us.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
So, we've come a long way. Y'all just started your journey and have come a long way.
Yeah.
But we all have a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
And so the road to transformation continues.